I'm Pio Vincenzo. This is Nifty Culture, and I am here with multidisciplinary, very talented artist Sam Madhu. Nice to meet you, Sam.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having me, Theo.
Oh, my pleasure. And, I've been tweeting this out a bunch. I've really been looking forward to this. And yeah, I'm just really excited to learn about your creative origins as an artist and, how you go about making the creative decisions that you make across different mediums. So, really appreciate you joining us today.
Cool, I'm so excited to be here. Let's begin.
So so just kicking things off, the way we typically start these interviews is we talk about your creative beginnings, and I like to go as far back, as you'll be willing to discuss, right? Because I think artistic beginnings can really kind of be dug up when you're thinking about your personal past. So, where did it all start for Sam? Like, what got you started with creative, with just creation?
Wow. Oh, okay. We're taking it way back. Okay, so the first creative exploit that I ever had in my life was when my mother actually put me in a drawing class for 10-year-old kids, but I was 6 and she wanted me to be ahead of the game, so she made me, join this advanced level children's class, and I think ever since that I just like always just had a talent for like making images, and that just continued into my life and what I'm doing now. Yeah, a little flashback from my childhood.
I mean, that's really cool. Like, you don't always hear about like the parents pushing for like a creative structure. A lot of times it'd be like, oh, they put you in a more advanced like math class or like something, something that eventually is guaranteed to make money, right? But it's really cool to hear about a parent that's like, no, you're going to go in that advanced drawing class with all the 10 year olds, and you're going to learn how to illustrate.
Yeah, I mean, I do have Indian parents, so they are very like certain things have to be done their way, but they are super cool, and they've just been so supportive of all the crazy stuff I wanted to do like in my life, and 100% like anything I do, I just remember that it's because they were so supportive, like always, like in the beginning, even was sending me to an art class when I was a kid. So yeah, super grateful to have that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And yeah, so as I kind of alluded to when I introduced you, you are a multidisciplinary artist. And I want to talk about the different disciplines that you've participated in. But the first thing I wanted to start with is your digital illustrations, which I think are a little bit different than the work that we've seen from you so far on Nifty Gateway. And the one theme that I want to kind of start with there is the theme of kind of having traditional Indian themes and images in the illustrations, but then combining them with very like modern and very female forward, I would say, like female
Yeah.
themes. So can you kind of talk about that style, talk about kind of led you there, and what you're looking to accomplish when you make those illustrations?
Totally. So I think that whole style started back when I was in New York, and I was an art director for Adidas at the time, and I think I was the only foreigner in the creative team, and I was the only person of Indian origin in the creative team, and I I felt that while I was working, I also was trying to like make art that really made me stand out from the crowd and made me unique. So I decided to kind of go back to my roots and use that as inspiration. And I'm just more inspired by the female form anyway. So I was like, I just combined those two interests. But like, it's so funny because I've gone on this whole journey of like, where am I from, and let me use this to like, make stuff that's unique and different and not seen by the West. And now I've actually come back to this place where it's like, okay, I think I know who I am now, and it's like the work I'm making now is inspired by this journey I've been on, but it's also very much about me as an individual, and how I'm actually I don't feel like I'm tethered to any country or any like geographical location, because I really like I'm inspired by so many things, and yeah, but yeah, it definitely like just I think being from a different country than most people in the West is like. it definitely played a part in just like shaping how I saw things and like, got inspired and all that. So yeah.
For sure. And I was telling you off air, I think it's like really, really cool digital illustration artwork. That's like very much so stuff that I appreciate. So, I commend you for your work in that space. When I look at those images, I think a lot of them have references to social media. Like that's an ongoing theme that I saw in a lot of the work. Could you talk about that? Talk about like where that kind of comes from and maybe what you're saying in some of those pieces?
Yeah, so I think the work you're talking about is my older work. That's actually from 2017, 2018. It's super different to the work I'm doing now, which is more, it's the 3D work I'm doing now is like more environment based. But I think back then, I was working in social media and it was kind of just my whole world. I was running Adidas Originals with my coworkers, which had like 72 million followers, and I was very like, I felt just like influenced by this world where social media was capital, and I just started these like things like the likes popping up and all these just humorous ways to like just like tell stories about how people are and how like the fabric of humanity has changed ever since like our existence depends on the validation of others now. So yeah, I don't know. I think social media to me is just like a funny like um, it's just like a commentary on how we've evolved as humans. So I like to play with that. Um, but these days I'm more interested in like in in just like the politics of technology itself. Like social media is one aspect, but I'm really interested in this like technology as a living creature.
And is that present in, for example, the drop that we saw in Nifty Gateway, which is more like a 3D, like kind of animated setup versus like the traditional digital illustration? Like, were you already doing 3D, or was that you getting into NFTs and wanting to take advantage of the technology? Like, how did you get from where you were before to what you're doing now in the NFT space?
Yeah, definitely. I think of 3D as like the medium of the future. I think when with Michelangelo when he was before he was painting the Sistine Chapel and then he started doing the marble sculptures. I kind of think of it like that because I think that a lot of us now are translating our 2D work into 3D because it's this new technology. It's sexy. There's so many things you can do with it, and it's too exciting not to be a part of. So I really wanted. I took a year off. I taught myself 3D during the pandemic, and yeah. So now I think in 3 dimensions, and like definitely like the Nifty Gateway drop. I had this body of work kind of building up from the past 2 years, so I kind of just wanted to make something that was an introduction to like who I am. That's kind of what I wanted to do with that drop. But I think going forward, now they know who I am and like people kind of they see my world. So now I'm really for the next shop. I'm really planning to flesh out this world and like and take them way deeper and like into the alleyways and like and meet like all the characters that live inside the space.
Yeah, I mean that sounds awesome, and we're going to talk about your upcoming drop too. You just mentioned that you learned 3D during the pandemic. You're actually not the first artist that told me exactly that. That the pandemic was like an opportunity for you to learn 3D. Was that incredibly difficult? Was it like a seamless transition? Like I can't imagine just going off on my own and like learning how to do this whole new technology derived form of artwork. So I'd be curious to hear about what that process was like for you.
Totally. It's a lot of it's just getting over the learning curve. I mean, once you get over it, it's like okay, I kind of know what I'm doing. But the problem with 3D is it's just so vast that you could be like amazing at it and you still feel like there's so much you don't know. I still very much feel like a beginner, but I think I know enough of it now to like execute the ideas I want, which is what I need. But yeah, no, It's just, I mean, to any artists out there who are trying to make the switch into 3D, I would say that it's really about just sitting down and telling yourself you're gonna watch this YouTube video, even if you fall asleep. Like, just get through it, and at the end of it, you'll know some cool shit that you didn't know before. So it's really about just putting in that time. Yeah, it's just like you have to just discipline yourself a little. And yeah, it took me about 6 months until I kind of knew my way around. And then my PC crashed, so I lost a couple of months.
Oh no.
But yeah, it's okay. I have a new one now. So
Okay. And so, that kind of brings me to the next Nifty Gateway drop. You mentioned that it was going to come out August 19th. I
mhm.
know that you said you're not ready to kind of talk about the work, but, what can you tell us about this next drop? And, how excited are you to be doing your sophomore drop, your second drop on Nifty Gateway?
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I'm super excited. Like, I think I was talking to Andrea, my producer from Nifty, and yeah, I guess they were happy with the response from the first drop. So I'm super happy to have a second date, and I really want this drop to be like a conversation between myself and the holders and my collectors, because I think that's what was so fun about the first drop as well, is that I had kind of built this relationship with people who like helps me even understand, drop mechanics and all that. So I think in this shop, what I really want to do is of course reward collectors and also just make it really fun for people who have taken an interest in my work. And um, because especially with Nifty, it's like all these people are taking a chance on you and investing in your work, and it's just like that's so special to me, and that's something that I really take into account as well when I kind of think about this whole NFT space. Um, yeah, and for the drop itself, it's I just finished writing the concept and I showed it to a few friends, but uh, yeah, I'm not really sure what to say about it because it's just really insane. But I think the vision is looking really strong, and I'm really happy. I mean, I feel like when the vision is super strong, like the rest of it just comes so easily because I know exactly what to do. I know how to do the composition and everything. So yeah, I feel super good about it actually.
Nice. It's still being architected.
Yeah.
So, you came into Nifty Gateway at an interesting time. Your drop, I believe, was in May. And so this is kind of post the March peak that kind of led to a little bit of a bubble bursting. You come in with your first drop on Nifty Gateway in May. You have collectors taking a lot of interest in you. You have this second drop coming in August. How much preparation, how much learning did you do about the NFT space as a whole, about Nifty
Mhm.
Gateway, and about how to maybe structure drops and organize drops so that they're obviously rewarding for you, but then also strong and rewarding for collectors and people that are buying your work also?
Yeah. So obviously I was paying attention to what was happening in, Nifty's ecosystem and like why certain jobs are doing better than others. Oh, a comment. Thank you so much. Yeah. Why certain jobs are doing better than others, why certain jobs are not doing as well as they had expected to. Um, and I just started educating myself about the community as well. And of course, I think it's also important to just have fun and like make friends with people on Discord and like talk to people, like see what they think. Yeah, and I just feel like it was important for me to make this drop like to make it meaningful. So I really wanted it to be like refreshing to the market because I knew the market was in a bad place. So I made friends with some awesome people online, and they, um, it was a group effort. I feel, and I think that that's what was the takeaway from it. Is it was a collaborative effort, and that's kind of how I want to go forward as well. Like I think it's really about the community, especially in this space.
And that's something that many artists have brought up, and I think it was kind of an unexpected, creation that came out of the Nifty Gateway or the NFT space just exploding. So I'd be curious, like, what has the sort of Discord, community factor to this meant to you as an artist? Because I have to imagine when you were creating those digital illustrations that I asked you questions about from 5, 6, 7 years ago, it couldn't have been the same setup where you have this real community of people all over the world that don't know one another but have that common bond of being a collector of your work, or just people that appreciate your work. What has that meant to you, and what have you kind of done to foster those relationships?
Totally. It's so funny because I've always like been a digital artist. Actually, like I started making digital paintings when I was like 12. So I actually have a lot of experience just being online and like showcasing my work online. So back then I was on DeviantArt. I don't know if you know what that is, but I was
Yep.
on that website and I was on a lot of like online drawing boards and stuff. So I think like from a young age I kind of known how to like be part of a community online and especially a creative community online. And I loved it because sitting in India, I didn't have access to people who appreciated my ideas all the time. So that online space really helped me to be a part of a community like that. And I think all that experience of like sitting on paint chats back in the early 2000s, that really translated into how I would talk to people on Discord as well. Because yeah, it's just yeah, it's really cool. And yeah, it's the communities, I would say, the core of this space because we're all like in it together. It's new and we're all growing together.
You were ahead of your time, so you were an old pro by the time you got to Nifty Gateway.
Yeah, I was just like so bored of like school. I was like, this sucks. I'm just gonna go online and make trippy art when I'm 12, and that helped. It paid off.
Wow, so you were ready. Awesome. Well, we talked digital illustration. We talked about you making the jump to 3D, and that, your first Nifty Gateway drop had definitely like the 3D sort of focus, like, versus the digital illustration thing. One medium that I wanted to talk to you about, which is one that's near and dear to me because it's my creative background, is music video directing. And I watched the music video that you directed. Have you only done one, or have you done more than one?
So I directed one video, and I did the creative direction for another one. So that was more fun because I just got to come up with crazy ideas, and then I didn't have to do the hard work of actually making it happen. I could just sit on set and like sip lemonade.
Oh, you
Yeah,
mean just coming up with the ideas is easier than
yeah,
showing up to set and wrangling everybody and making everything happen?
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I saw the Karma one, the Karma video. Were you the director of that or the
Yeah.
creative director?
I was the director of that, and I was just like, it was my first video, and watching it now, I know I made a lot of mistakes. But I'm also just like, dude, I didn't know anything about making a video, so yeah, it was. I mean, the artist that I directed for is she's a really good friend of mine, and she kind of when I moved to Bombay, she like kind of let me stay in her apartment, and she's been really supportive. So yeah, no, I mean, I love being on set. I just love the energy of being on set, and but yeah, directing is very stressful. Holy shit, it's like a whole thing.
It's different than, being able to hang out in your apartment and have like a little bit of lunch and then, get on the computer and make some digital art. But I wanted to say that video is an absolutely badass music video all the way
Oh,
around,
thank you.
from the artist to the directing to the cinematography. I really liked the lighting, like the color palette of the video, and I feel like I kind of recognize that color palette from some of your digital illustrations. And then obviously I like the themes, like, taking the baseball bat and smashing like the heads off of the
Yeah.
different yeah, I loved all of that. So, how did that come
Oh
about? Like,
man.
how did you get into that? How did that relationship start? I just want to hear all about it.
Oh man. Okay, so Raja, the the artist in that video, she's like a rapper, and she has this like bad bitch energy. But it's funny because like with the video, I wanted to make a hip hop video for an Indian rapper because that's what she's Indian American, but I wanted to make this video that kind of had like an Indian aesthetic, but kind of remixed it and just add like a lot of pop culture like crazy stuff. So that's why we have a scene where she's like a goddess and there's this massive tiger behind her because that's just something you see in like paintings at home and stuff. And then with the baseball bat, it's like those mannequins are with the demon faces. Like you see characters that look like that in a lot of books back home. So I kind of wanted to bring that in and have her like slay all the demons. And yeah, I just wanted to like take this cyberpunk like lighting, neon lighting, and remix it with something more traditional. That was the concept. But I got in some trouble for that video because like all the right wing people back home were like, "Oh, you're disrespecting our culture," and I was just like,
Well, that was going to be my next question. My
yeah,
next question was going to be like, what was the response in India to that video? And I guess your initial
yeah.
response but could you expand on that a little bit?
I mean, now it's like a very tired, but it's just like, I mean, it's just, I mean, like in India, like people just get really offended sometimes, like for like really silly things, and yeah, especially me as a woman, I just if I do something, it's just like no one likes it. If I do something that's like outside of the box, and but I don't care. Before it would really affect me, I'd be like scared actually. Because you wake up and there's like all these horrible messages. But now I'm just like, dude, like you guys are stuck in the past, and I'm moving forward, honey. Bye. So I'm just gonna do my thing. I'm just like I'm tired of yeah, I don't care. I'm just gonna do what I want.
I mean, that's so, that attitude, that mentality is just so impressive to me, genuinely, because like, I'm a white male in the United States, right? So like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like white men rule the world, whatever. But I can't imagine being from a culture where, there's a history of being like I don't want to say chauvinist, but more of like a male dominant culture.
Yeah, hundred
And then you're
percent.
doing
Yeah.
yeah, and your evocative music video,
Yeah.
female artist, she's going hard. She's going incredibly hard in that video. So yeah, that's so fascinating to me that you're able to let
Yeah,
that roll
he
off your
goes
back at
hard.
this point. So yeah, I mean, that's hats off
Yeah,
to you
I
for that.
mean, oh, thank
Go
you.
ahead, yeah.
No, I was just
Yeah,
gonna
so
say, like, yeah, I mean, just like being the underdog sometimes is actually like it kind of makes you like actually gives you more drive, I would say, because I've had so many times where people were like sexist or racist or just like underestimated me, and actually it made me just feel like it actually just made me work so much harder, and I actually appreciate it.
I mean, that's awesome. That's like a limitation on creativity in itself, like just kind of having doubters or haters or people trying to set artificial limits on you that you need to kind of
Yeah,
mentally overcome. It seems like you have, though.
yeah, I think I have.
um, so back to the creative part a little bit. Going to your digital illustrations and then also looking at the colors that I see in that music video and the Nifty Gateway drops. I see these really bright colored themes, and I'm a huge fan of that type of work, like the kind of almost like cartoony look with these bright colors. Was that always your style? Like, when did you start, really just having these defined color palettes that are present in your work? Like, I know it's a technical question, but I just am genuinely curious because I love the colors in your work and I'm just a fan of bright colors, and not every artist is kind of like masterful at using those. So I'd be curious to know the origins of that.
Oh, I love these questions. It's so nice to have like an in-depth interview. Makes you think. But anyway, yeah. So I was living in New York, and I feel like a lot of the Western art scene is very like minimal. It's very like, oh my God, there's a line on a canvas. Let's just look at it for 4 hours. And I was just like, wow, this is boring. And I just come from a culture where everything's like really bizarre and colorful, and I think that's just in my blood. So it was super easy for me to just, and I'm a digital girl, so I just combined that, like my natural colors with just like my RGB, uh, you know, world. And yeah, I just feel like using these bright digital palettes, it just feels very like authentic to who I am. So yeah,
Yeah, I didn't
that's
even think
basically
of
how I
that.
got there. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't think of like, Indian, like, when I see the outfits at like Indian weddings and stuff, like such, brilliant, like big colors. And you don't always see that, especially in Western culture, you never see it, right? I feel like those bright colors come from Eastern culture. So yeah,
Hmm.
that makes sense to me. You kind of grew up like absorbing those colors. That's pretty awesome. And, I guess the work that you're doing now, right? Like, what, I don't know what software you've used for digital illustration since, it sounds like you were 12 years old, but at this point, like, what do you consider like the platform that you use most to create your work? Like, what does Sam like to sit down in front of a tablet or a computer and create artwork on?
Yeah. So right now, of course, everything is 3D. But it's funny because I started sketching again actually. So before I jump into 3D, I actually like make all these sketches of how I want to like do my modeling and everything in 3D. Oh, you
Oh,
guys can
wow.
see it
Nice,
here.
nice.
Yeah, and then once I have this, when I go into 3D, the vision is just so much more clear, and I know how to sculpt everything from every angle. Right now, I'm using Cinema 4D, Octane Render, ZBrush, Flash 3D, Substance Painter. Those are kind of like what you need, the basic tools that you need to make 3D work. Yeah, and I'm taking a switch into Redshift. But yeah, 3D still is just such a vast expanse. So you can learn as much as you want, and there's still going to be the whole ocean to swim through.
There's a little technical breakdown for the aspiring digital and 3D artists out there, so I'm sure they'll appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I read briefly another interview that you did. I think it was a few years back, where you said that like you're a fan of cyberpunk culture. You consider yourself a part of cyberpunk culture. Is that what you're talking about when it comes to being like a digital girl, putting art out on the web since you were like 12, or is that like deeper than that?
Yeah, I think it's all related. I've always been really drawn to technology. It feels supernatural to me. And like movies like Blade Runner, Ghost of the Shell, like they just like literally shaped my world because I love these dark cities. I love the feeling of being like just a citizen of like these huge cities. That's why I love to live in cities as well. And I'm just super inspired by like nightlife and like science that you see and just energy, like the people you meet. So I very much am inspired by like the urban jungle and technology, and I think they both go hand in hand. So cyberpunk to me felt very much like home. Of course, it's so sad how cyberpunk was just like totally abused as a trend, and now it just looks cheesy because it was so overused. And after the video game came out, like now it's like it's too cheesy. It's like how you look at vaporwave now and you laugh at it. Like cyberpunk is like dead to me now, but it's just made me want to create my own aesthetic. Like I'm inspired by it, and now I'm at a place where I can create my own aesthetic. So
Oh, yeah, making your own way. Nice.
yeah,
Speaking of urban jungles, you mentioned to me off air that you've been living in Berlin for a few months now, right?
yeah,
And so in Berlin, I know that the street art is very rich. Like there's a ton of street art on buildings. Has that been, an influence for you? Have you gone out and just kind of taken some time to take any of that in?
yeah. I mean, Berlin is so cool. Like I've only been here for 3 months, and um, it's just a city that's very much like it's a city for artists, which I think is really really cool. You're waiting for a train, and then you look at the building across the street, and it's like covered in like these glyphs and typography. So it's actually crazy, but it doesn't have like these beautiful skyscrapers and buildings that like Shanghai or New York has, and I do miss that. But I feel like this city is so cyberpunk in a lot of ways because if you go out at night, like the people you meet they're all just like these amazing characters from science fiction. Like everyone is so interesting, and they have such a flair and such uh, a unique personality, and the fashion, like the hair, it's super inspiring to me. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. I think I'm gonna settle down here for a while because I'm tired of living in the city.
I hear you on that. And I know you were
Yeah.
in New York before, New York when you were like, in undergrad, I guess, going to art school. And I was telling you off air that I actually know somebody that went to the same art school to Parsons that graduated after you. And when I look at her work, like her digital illustrations, I actually I feel like she's influenced by you. Have you maintained a relationship with the school, since you've left? And are they
Mhm.
aware of, the things that you've gone on to do in the arts?
Not so much. No, even at school, I feel like I actually learned more from YouTube and just like the people I met in the city than the classroom. But definitely the school it was a great network. I haven't really maintained close contact with it, but if you're interested in it in 3D art and all that, Parsons does have a department called Design and Technology, and I have stayed in touch with Kyle, who's the program director, and it's a great department. They're growing a lot, and I think if you're into like experimental new media art, I think it's a really good school. And New York is just a great city to get really experimental. So yeah,
New York's definitely a great city. It's back now. It's coming back. So anybody that
I
left New
miss
York,
it.
yeah, myself included, everybody go back to New York now. I'll see you there. So Sam, we have your next Nifty Gateway drop coming in August.
Hmm.
Anything else you want to tell the people watching, tell your collectors, your fans about what they can look out for, with your work moving forward, even beyond that drop?
Totally. I think I just want to firstly thank everyone who's just like been so supportive of me on this ride, and I think going forward, I just want to get to know my collectors more and like work out a system where we can all grow together. And for my next drop, I ask you all that you all be patient with me because I need to get into the creative space now and manifest everything. And definitely, there's going to be some special perks for collectors and holders coming up. So I think I hope you guys will have some patience with that, and I hope you love what I do. I'm super excited.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
So where can people find you? They can find you on Twitter, on Instagram,
Oh
on
yeah.
Discord. Yeah, what are your handles? Where can they find you?
Oh shit. Should I type them in? Or, okay.
Well, we'll drop them into the link, but for the people watching
Cool.
right now, if they want to find
Yeah,
you, yeah.
I'm on Instagram. I'm Sam underscore Madhu, which is Madhu. On Twitter, I'm Sammy World with a zero, not an O. Um, and Discord, yeah, it's called Sammy Cyber Rave, and yeah, it's just like we're all just manic in there. So come hang out.
It's a cyber rave. Get your rave on, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, thanks so much, Sam. I really enjoyed this conversation. Really enjoyed learning more about you and your work. Thank you to everybody that's watching right now. We really appreciate you guys tuning in for these interviews, and we want to continue to do them and continue to build relationships with artists, inside the NFT space, but also maybe outside the NFT space, looking for an in. So I hope everyone finds this content useful. I'm Pio Vincenzo. You can follow me on Twitter at crypto underscore Pio. Follow Nifty Culture on Twitter, subscribe to this YouTube channel. And yeah, thanks again to Sam. And, it was a real pleasure.
Thank you, Pio. Such a good interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. See you guys.